Hello. Today, 25th of October 2024, I am finishing the series of 12 videos according to each sign of the zodiac for 2025. The general forecast according to the sign, only the sign or the ascendant. If it is your ascendant, it may also be very interesting for you to watch this video, but of course as well, if it is your sun sign or zodiac sign, Pisces, that is the 12th zodiac sign, as you know. So it is a water sign. It means that there is a lot of sensitivity and intuition as well in Pisces-born people. And I think that it is the most spiritual of all zodiac signs. So a few important transits are going to occur in 2025 that will have a very interesting effect in the life of people like you. If you were born under this sign, or if it is your ascendant, you will most probably feel the difference in many aspects of your life due to some planets, important planets, slow planets, changing signs in 2025, but returning in a previous sign to then settle in the following sign only in 2026. So I think that you should consider 2025 as being a year to prepare yourself for what is going to really happen concretely in 2026. So let's have a look. The first planets I want to talk to you about is, the first one is Neptune, of course, because it is your planet. It represents the sign Pisces. And Neptune, as you know, if you've watched my videos previously, is in Pisces. It's been transiting in Pisces since 2012. And the transit is about to end. But not quite in 2025, not quite yet. It's going to make an incursion in Aries from the 31st of March 2025. And it will remain in Aries for a few months, and then it will retrograde back in Pisces. So while it is in Aries from the 31st of March, it is going to affect the second sign from your sign. You see, your sign is the one we're talking about today. So although it is the 12th one, it is the first one according to, the beginning of the conversation that we are having about this sign, Pisces. So it becomes number one sign. And Aries becomes number two because it follows Pisces. And the second sign is naturally, and I would say symbolically, linked to the second house, which represents the matters of life. The matter of life, rather, that is the material side of life. Finances, for example, the money you earn from work, and the way you feed yourself, the way you look after yourself, food-wise, to remain in good health or to enjoy the pleasures of life. So Neptune is going to transit 14 years in Aries. But in 2025, it's only going to remain in there for a few months. A few months during which, in my opinion, you should reflect and prepare for the moment when Neptune is actually going to settle in Aries in 2026. So another planet is going to intervene and must probably, I would say, help you be more realistic than idealistic as far as this area is concerned, house number two, money and food. Mainly money and food. So it has to do with the work you do to earn your bread, of course. But if you don't work, you still have some duties on a daily basis, and you still have to feed yourself, right? So you still need money to buy food and so on. So when Saturn arrives in Aries, because at the moment it is in Pisces as well, so both planets are almost going to be in conjunction before they both leave Aries. And that will be, I'd say, in March. Before Neptune changes sign, there will be a conjunction, almost a conjunction. At least the planets will be close to one another. Saturn takes 29.5 years to revolve around the zodiac, while Neptune needs 165 years to do the same. So I think that the relationship between Saturn and Neptune is something unique, at least in this sign, and it will also be very unique in Aries. There will be almost a conjunction in Aries as well, and that will be in June. March is like a conjunction in Pisces, just before Neptune changes sign. And when Saturn changes sign, which will be on the 25th of May, 2025, in June there will be almost a conjunction, but by mid-July, both planets will be retrograding back in Pisces. And they will re-enter in Pisces in October. So, while they're in Pisces, they'll affect your second house, or they'll affect the area of money and food. Neptune represents what you feel. It represents intuition. So you could have some pretty good intuition about how to improve this sector of your life, finances, money, and what you can buy with it, and how you feed yourself and so on. But Neptune is not enough. It's good to have an intuition and inspiration, and sixth sense is quite useful, but it has to be put into practice. And to make it real, your dream, the ideal situation that you would appreciate or like or want for yourself, as far as money and food are concerned, they will need I would say, perhaps the approbation of Saturn. Because Saturn represents what we can concretely do to obtain what we want and what we deserve from the work that we put in to what we want. So that will be the case. And what you're going to decide concretely, it needs to be done concretely, according to how you feel or what you feel is best for you, financially and food-wise perhaps. The moment to choose to decide would be June 2025. And what you decide, what you get maybe officially, at least concretely involved in, will have to wait until 2026 to become real and to become concrete. So, something solid, not just something out of your intuition or inspiration or imagination, something real. And that's what you'll probably achieve in 2026. In February, on the 20th of February 2026, there will be a conjunction, an exact conjunction. And it is a unique conjunction. It's never going to happen again while you're in this world due to the time that Neptune takes to revolve around the zodiac. So it's never going to come back in Aries once it's gone from Aries, in which actually it's going to remain for 14 years, while Saturn will remain for about 2.5 years in this sign. So both planets, at least for 2.5 years, will combine their unique energy to serve you, to make life for you much more realistically satisfactory. So that is what you can achieve. But of course, you've got your free will that will eventually decide what is best for you and for people around eventually as well. Another planet I want to talk to you about is one that has been in harmony with your sign for approximately the last 7 years. I'm talking about Uranus, which is in Taurus and still in Taurus today. But it is going to change sign. See, another planet is going to change sign, and a slow planet. So the changes are not something that happens very often. And that is the reason why 2025 is going to be such an important year for every one of us, and of course differently from one person to another. But we must remember that what happens in 2025 and what we can get involved in will be only a preparation of what we'll obtain in 2026. So Uranus is going to change sign on the 8th of July this year to transit in Gemini. That will last until the 8th of November because the planet is going to retrograde. Now, a retrogradation is something that we perceive from our point of view on Earth. Naturally, the planet is not reversing. It's not possible. But from our point of view on Earth, because the Earth is turning much faster around the Sun than Uranus, Neptune, or Saturn, and other planets, the Earth overtakes the planet in question. And when the planet is overtaken, it seems to be retrograding, reversing, moving backwards. It's very often, and it is going to be the case with Uranus like it was the case for Saturn and Neptune, they realign with the previous sign. So, yes, Uranus is going to move back in Taurus. In Taurus, it forms what we call a sextile, which is an angle of about 60 degrees with your sign or your ascendant. And that is what we call a positive or harmonious relationship or configuration. Therefore, Uranus helped you since 2018, whatever happened in your life, to adapt quickly and perhaps also to be inventive enough to benefit from various opportunities to make your life better. So that applied in the third sign from yours, right? 1, 2, 3. And it's linked to the third house, representing your ability to communicate, your intellect, your neurons, your brains, the manner in which you perceive life and how you deal with it mentally, intellectually, and how you communicate. So I think that Uranus has made you quite interestingly inventive during this 7-year transit in Taurus. Besides, Taurus is an earth sign, so it probably also has triggered some opportunities that had that very concrete, down to earth meaning and value. When Uranus changes sign, the energy of the planet is going to change, because a planet gets more or less influenced by the sign in which it is found or it is transiting. Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac. It is in relationship with the third house. But in your case, because the first sign is your sign, or at least it's Pisces, Gemini becomes number 4. And it becomes number 4, therefore it is linked to family, the home environment, the place of residence, and anything that is important around you and anyone. So the changes that Uranus represents are going to affect those areas of your life. So if you want to change maybe your place of residence, move from one to another, or if you want to change family relationship, this period will be appropriate to do so. But there is a but. There is a but because between Gemini and Pisces, there is what we call a discordance. And that discordance is not something dramatic, because we are in presence of a water sign for Pisces and an air sign for Gemini. So we can mix air and water. There is air in water and water in air. But when you mix air and water, what do you get? Concretely, you just have water. Air is invisible. So it doesn't have a very strong effect, although it is a necessary molecule for water to be. So there is some kind of complementary type collaboration between both. But in astrology, we consider that there is a discordance. And maybe it is due to the fact that both signs are what we call mutable signs, therefore changeable. But Gemini don't change in the same way as Pisces do. All right? So Uranus is going to increase the notion of change, which may actually occur because you want those changes, but also because they are to be, and therefore you'd have no say on what will happen. You'll just have to adapt, to adjust to the situation, which may actually occur very suddenly, because Uranus represents what can change unexpectedly. And you cannot expect, actually, even with the best imagination, you cannot expect what Uranus can change and how it can change it, and in what way. In some way or another, Uranus is going to transform your life in that area: home, family, place of residence. So if you want to achieve a change, if you need to, that's even more important. Therefore, you would have to act between the 8th of July and the 8th of November. Because when Uranus moves back in Taurus, until it comes back in Gemini, which will be on the 25th of April 2026, you will be able to go back onto what needs to be reassessed, or at least dealt with, to make sure that the end of the transit, which is probably representing the end of a cycle, is finished properly, that you don't have and won't have to go back again, because you won't be able to do so. Once Uranus is in Gemini in 2026, it's not going to come back in Taurus before the 84 years. That's the time that the planet takes, to revolve around the zodiac. it means that you need to be prepared, and you will have that time frame between July and November to do so. Now, another planet is very important as well in relationship with your sign or your ascendant at the moment, and it is Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is also transiting in Gemini. Uranus is not in there yet, all right? Today at least. But Jupiter is in Gemini. It's been in Gemini since the 25th of May, 2024. And the transit is going to last until the 9th of June, 2025. So it lasts for about a year, during which, of course, anything to do with what I've just said about the fourth sign, house 4, place of residence, family, and the home, and the area where you live, perhaps, or the country where you live, and so on. There is an increase. And also, Jupiter brings a potential to succeed and to progress, to grow. So if you had a project to increase or improve your life, family-wise or in your home environment, Jupiter will most probably help you do so. But because of the discordance here that we mentioned earlier on between Gemini and Pisces, it means that you could be tempted to aim at something that is too far-fetched, perhaps too high, too expensive, too much involvement. Jupiter can represent that. It is the largest planet of them all. It has a tremendous energy. And that energy is the energy of growth. So, whatever you want to improve in your family surrounding and home environment will be favored by the transit of Jupiter. But because of the discordance, you could be quite excessive, too optimistic, too enthusiastic, and therefore involve yourself and perhaps officially, legally, in a project or a scheme that will be much too difficult for you to keep up with. And if you need a loan, for example, and obtain the loan, you may find it difficult later on to pay it back. So think about that, because Jupiter can really be friendly, but in a way that it is going to influence you to be too trustful. And if you trust too much what you want to achieve, yourself and other people involved eventually, if you want to give too much to whoever is around you in your family environment, well, it will cost you a lot more, and perhaps a lot more of what it is going to give you or provide. So think about that, because the transit is not going to last so long. It's going to only last until the 9th of June, 2025. And then from then on, Jupiter is going to transit in Cancer, which is also the family sign. As you perhaps know, Cancer is the 4th zodiac sign, so it is naturally and symbolically linked to the 4th house. That's why Cancer people are so family-oriented most of the time, at least. But in your case, it is number 5 sign from your sign. And Cancer is a water sign. So being a water sign, it is in harmony with your sign, which is also a water sign. It's easy to add water with water, you get more water. So there is what we call a harmonious relationship, a harmonious configuration. It's positive. And Jupiter represents growth, as I've just explained, and it's going to occur in the area that represents family, in the sign that represents family. But according to your sign or your ascendant, it represents house 5, which is your sentimental life. It's also the pleasures of life, the joys of life, holidays, anything that is nice is represented by house 5, children and the people you love around you. Anything that can enhance and increase and improve your personal sentimental life will be greatly affected and favored by the transit of Jupiter. Between the 9th of June 2025 and the 30th of June 2026. So for almost 13 months, Jupiter will be on your side. And it will be there to help you achieve what perhaps you cannot achieve without some help. And the help provided by Jupiter in this area, according to your sign or your ascendant, is luck. So if you believe in luck, and if you use your sixth sense, your intuition, luck is going to strike, most probably during the period when Jupiter transits in Cancer. So be prepared, and all the best. The other planet I want to talk to you about is the slowest one. It's the slowest one. It takes 248 years to revolve around the zodiac. I'm talking about Pluto. So Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. And it's going to leave Capricorn and settle in Aquarius on the 20th of November this year. I'm actually writing a book about the transit of Pluto in Aquarius because it is going to last for 20 years. And Aquarius represents society, represents people. So Pluto is going to affect people and society during that long period of transit in Aquarius. But for you, Pluto is going to affect the 12th sign from your sign. It is the sign that precedes yours or your ascendant. So it is linked to the 12th house, which represents the past, which has a karmic connotation, which also represents the spiritual dimension of life. And Pluto represents what needs to be profoundly transformed, changed deeply, forever. Because the planet is never going to come back in Aquarius before the end of your life, that's for sure, unless you live for another 248 years, which is very doubtful. So while Pluto is in this sign, Aquarius, it will affect your social environment because the whole world is going to change. So your social environment will be affected by the changes, the transformations that are going to apply. And because it is the 12th house or the 12th sign from yours or your ascendant, it does have to do with your spiritual growth. And often spiritual growth is not an easy task. You need to undergo some very high level tests, experiences that you will need to address and to accept as being necessary for you to grow spiritually. That is an extremely important transit, a major one, because it is also a unique transit. Another planet I want to talk to you now about is Mars. So Mars takes 2 years to revolve around the zodiac. It's a faster object, obviously, compared to Pluto. But it is at the moment in Cancer. Since the 4th of September 2024 and until the 4th of November of the same year, 2024, Mars will be in Cancer. In Cancer, you see the link here. This is the famous trine, as we call it, an angle of about 120 degrees that separate both signs and elements that are in it. So Mars is having a positive influence on your personal energy and personal behavior and so on. It makes it easier for you to achieve what you want to achieve because Mars renders you more decisive. Now, it is going to change sign, right? Because it's going to transit in Leo afterwards. But I'm talking about that, although it will affect the end of 2024. And I should be talking about 2025, right? So I have already said quite a lot about this transit in the video that I made for 2024. You're welcome to watch it if you want to. Now, Mars, when it does transit in Leo, will still be in 2024. It will begin on the 4th of November. And the transit is going to last until the 6th of January. That becomes a bit more interesting because we are now talking about 2025. It's going to retrograde, like most planets do. So it's going to move in Leo, which is a fire sign, therefore not in really good relationship with your sign or your ascendant, because water and fire do not mix quite easily and quite well, honestly. So there is a potential discordance here between both signs and between the elements that are in the signs. So Mars is going to move in there from the 4th of November until the 6th of January. It's going to retrograde on the 6th of December. And when it does, it's not as efficient anymore. So we feel that what we are doing is more difficult to do for a result that is under, value-wise, what we normally would achieve if Mars was not retrograde. So thank you very much, Mars. You make me less efficient. And that may show actually at work, if you work. Because this sign here, Leo, is number 6 from yours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And house 6, which is linked to the 6th sign, symbolically, once again, relates to health and work. So if you work, Mars is going to make you much more intense, active and reactive, impassioned as well, which may create some difficulties with people around you at work, which could also trigger a risk of work accident. So you'll need to be more careful during the period when Mars transits in Leo. So the first period is from the 4th of November until, and that's when it is going to be very strong, until the 6th of December. And then when Mars retrogrades until the 6th of January in Leo, then wherever you have been quite efficient to impose something that you wanted or needed at work or health-wise, suddenly it seems that you're retrograding. So people are not going to understand very much, but don't forget that everyone is going to be affected by the retrogradation of this planet. Like for all other planets, it's the same. And at the end of this reading, I will talk to you about Mercury. So Mars retrograde makes you less efficient. But when it moves back in Cancer from the 6th of January onward, it will suddenly be in harmony with your sign or your ascendant. So it will suddenly become more friendly, and you may be able to go back to what is needed to make sure that when Mars comes again in Leo, which will occur from the 18th of April, and then it will last until the 17th of June before Mars changes sign and moves in Virgo, Libra, and so on. But while it is in Leo, from the 18th of April, if you've learned your lesson, that is important, of course, because you may have made some mistakes at work, or that you may have been not careful enough about your own health, or too reactive for your own good, if there has been an incident or an accident that you need to repair whatever has been broken or affected, then when Mars transits again in Leo from the 18th of April until 17th of June, you could, and I wish you will, be able to control the energy of Mars. Because Mars is speed, right? So it may feel like you're sitting and driving a Formula One car, but if you're not prepared for that, you're not going to go very far. You'll soon be in a wall, or outside the circuits, that's for sure. So Mars is a tool or a weapon that you can use to achieve what you need to achieve and obtain what you want to obtain, by force perhaps, or at least with a diplomatic type of force, so that no one is hurt, not you nor anyone else. And that makes the difference. So remember what I'm saying, because you will feel it. You will feel it for sure. When Mars is in Leo, it triggers the energy of the ego as well, because Leo is represented by the sun. And if you were born under the sign Pisces, the sun is in the sign. So the sun is your ego, and suddenly Mars is going to be in relative discordance with your ego. So you may do things that you will regret just because your ego will be triggered. And when the ego talks, the heart silences itself, I mean, we are not as compassionate when we are motivated by an ego that is not in tune with what we should use it for in the best possible manner. But another planet is going to be quite friendly with you from the beginning of the year for about 3-4 weeks. I'm talking about Venus. Yes, Venus is as you know most probably, the goddess of love. So when it transits one's sign, it has a very positive influence in the life of this person. But if you don't know that Venus is transiting your sign or your ascendant, but in my opinion, it's stronger when it is the sign actually that Venus transits. If you don't know, you may probably not benefit from the positive energy of this planet unless you're very lucky. And actually Venus represents luck and all the good things of life that may suddenly be part of your life, and improve it, of course, make it more enjoyable, nicer in many ways. But it's also because Venus is going to increase your charm, your charisma, and your compassionate behavior and relationship with life. I'm not saying with other people necessarily, but with life. Suddenly, you see life through pink glasses, as we say. So all colors are nicer. Of course, we have to take into consideration how your chart is oriented to make sure that this energy of Venus is going to be 100% of what it should be. But it is never 100%. So just remember that whatever your life is like, when Venus transits your sign, and now I'm going to give you the dates, from the 3rd of January until the 4th of February, Venus will be in Pisces. And you should take advantage of that. So you should be prepared for it. And you should take note of that transit in your diary. Now, to finish this video, let me talk to you about Mercury, but mainly about Mercury retrograde. It does retrograde 3 times each year. The retrogradation periods last for about 3 weeks. The first one this year, 2025, will occur in Aries, and actually between Aries and your sign. So it's going to affect you intellectually, mentally. When Mercury is retrograde, we are not as efficient in many ways and in many areas of life. In this instance, because it is going to do so retrograde in Aries, then in your sign or your ascendant, it's going to affect the way you deal with money and food. It's not going to be a source of catastrophe. But when it does retrograde in your sign or your ascendant, then it affects you directly. And then you become forgetful. And if you do so, you will, of course, be confronted with people around you who are as well under the influence of Mercury retrograde, because we're all going to be influenced by this retrogradation. But differently, of course, for everyone, because we are all different and we all have different charts and different lives. The second period will occur when Mercury transits in Leo. So that will be the 6th sign, 6th house from your sign or your ascendant, representing work and health. That's where, in those areas, and in your daily life as well, and your daily routine, if you don't work anymore, you still have things to do daily. And that's where and when you could tend to forget, to be forgetful and to misunderstand. So there could be some small problems arising, but nothing dramatic once again. So don't worry too much, but still, take note of the period, which is going to last from the 19th of July until the 12th of August. And the last period is the one when Mercury transits in Sagittarius, which is the 10th sign from your sign. So it's linked to the 10th house, the midheaven as we call it as well. That represents your status, your professional, social professional status, and your career, and your relationship with authority, and your own authority, and so on and so forth. That's where, in those areas, Mercury retrograde will be affecting your presence of mind and your ability to think clearly, rationally, and efficiently. And that will be between the 10th of November and the 30th of November, 2025. And that will be it for the year. And that will be it as well for my reading. And I thank you very much for watching this video until the end of it. Before I go, I'd like to remind you about my books. If you're interested in astrology and want to learn, to learn how to erect a chart and analyze it, a birth chart that is, or perhaps to learn how to forecast using what I've done just now, the transits of the planets around the chart, but not just according to the sign, according to the whole chart, which is your birth chart or anybody else's chart. There is also a book on karma, if karma is something that interests you. And there is a book on horary astrology, which is a very interesting technique to answer any kind of questions. And there is a book on medical astrology. Plus, there is also a book which is being written at the moment about the transit of Pluto in Aquarius. And that will be a very important transit for you because you were born under the sign Scorpio, or Scorpio is your rising sign, therefore Pluto is your planet. And of course, if you want to really get involved in a course to become a professional astrologer, perhaps, why not? Or just to, get that knowledge and use it on a daily basis to make your life better. My school is called A Better Life Astrology School. A better life, that's what actually astrology has given me, allowed me to become a better person as well. Thank you very much. All the best, and I wish you a very pleasant and successful 2025. Bye for now.